In this video, we're going to be talking about surface area of a cylinder, and we're going to be talking about what a net area is. Basically, a net area is a diagram showing you what happens if you were to unwrap or break down a three-dimensional shape into its two-dimensional shapes. So we can think about that in terms of a cylinder. If you were to actually take apart a cylinder, what shapes, specifically what two-dimensional shapes are you going to be able to take out of a cylinder? And so if you think about a cylinder, what's on top of and bottom of a cylinder? Really, I guess we could look at a cylinder first, huh? It's a little nice cylinder there. You could think of a soda can as a cylinder. So on top and bottom we have what shape? We have a circle. And so in the middle there, if we were to actually unfold this cylinder, we would get a nice little rectangle. And then we still have a circle on the bottom. So if we were to put it back together, we would have a cylinder, and when we take it apart, we have this thing called the net, which is just a diagram. It's just a two-dimensional diagram of a 3D shape. You can do that with any 3D shape, but for some reason, a lot of geometry books tend to talk about it with cylinders. So really, in order to find the surface area of a cylinder, we just have to find the area of these three shapes. And really, there's only two different shapes. If we find the area of one circle, we can just double it because the other circle is going to be the exact same. And then we just got to figure out the area of this rectangle. So the area of a circle, if you remember, is r squared times pi. You can actually switch the order here and say it's pi r squared. I like to leave the pi at the end because in some cases they ask you to leave it in terms of pi, in which case it's already in the spot it needs to be at the end. And you just square your radius, stick that back on the end, and you're done. So we have one circle there, that's pi r squared, or r squared pi. And if we want the area of both of them, we would multiply that by 2. So to find the area of both circles, you could say it's 2r squared pi, or 2 pi r squared, or any order you want to go in. The trick with the rectangle, however, is that normally you're not going to know this base length of your rectangle. But in order to figure it out, if you think about how this line wraps around the circle to give it that cylindrical shape, so that must mean that this length has to be equal to the distance around the circle in order to wrap all the way around it. So we say that the length of our rectangle is the circumference of the circle. And in order to find the circumference of a circle, you do 2 times your radius times pi, or d times pi. So either way you want to think of it, that's the length or the base of your rectangle. The height is generally given to you because it's the height of the cylinder, and in most cases they'll give you the height, so you could put that right there. So really, the area of your rectangle is 2 times r times pi times h. It's kind of a weird formula for the area of a rectangle, but there it is. And I think it's a lot easier to think about a cylinder as being these three basic shapes, or just two basic shapes, rather than memorizing the formula. Because if you just think about the shapes and how to find the area of those shapes, then it kind of leads you into the formula anyways. But you're more than welcome to memorize this formula if you want. 2r squared pi plus the area of the rectangle, 2r pi h. So those steps that we just described, we could write them out. In general, you're going to always either want the radius or the diameter, either one. Usually you want the radius to find the area of a circle. So you need the radius. So find the radius first. then step 2 would be find the area of your circles, area of circle, and double it because you got 2 of them. And then find the circumference, because we're going to use that circumference and multiply it by the height, and that's going to equal the area of our rectangle. So find the area of the rectangle by finding their circumference and multiplying by the height. And then to find the total surface area, you just add up all your areas. And like we talked about in our last video, there's a difference between total area. Add up all the areas would give us our total area or just surface area. But there's another type of surface area. It's called the lateral area, or LA. And the lateral area, remember, does not include bases. So think about what our bases of our cylinder might be. Remember that bases are the things that kind of give our shape its shape. So we have a cylinder, it's a round shape, and what gives it the round shape is the circle, so that must mean that the bases are the circles. And again, bases could be what's on top and bottom, but if we were to set the cylinder on its side, then the bases would no longer be on top and bottom. So thinking about bases being on top and bottom, it's not necessarily going to get you there. Think about them as being what makes the shape what it is, and the circle does that. So circles are your bases, so we don't include the circles in our LA, so that just leaves the area of the rectangle. That's your LA. The lateral area of a cylinder is just the area of the rectangle. So let's practice. In general, you'll see cylinders drawn a couple different ways. They'll either give you the diameter here, and they expect you to know that it's the diameter because they drew the full line there. So we'll say that the diameter of this cylinder, or this diameter of this circle, is 6. And we'll say the height of our cylinder is 15. And we'll do another way of writing this in our next example, so let's just go ahead with this. So the diameter is 6, height is 15. So first step is find the radius. The radius is always half our diameter, so it's half of 6, that's 3. And then the second step would be find the area of your circle. So pi r squared, or r squared pi, gives us the area of one circle, so 3 squared times pi is 9 times pi, and we'll leave it in terms of pi for now. Third step is to find the circumference of your circle, because we're going to use that to find the area of our rectangle. So the circumference is double the radius times pi, or the diameter times pi. Since we're given diameter, we'll just use that. So the circumference will be 6 pi, and we got to multiply that by the height to find the area of our rectangle. So the area of the rectangle is 6 times 15, that's our height, with pi attached. 6 times 10 is 60, plus 6 times 5 is 30, so that must mean that our area of our rectangle, or lateral area, is 90 times pi. So we found the area of one circle. Let's double that for 2 circles, right? Let's do it over here. 2 circles would have an area of, double this, 18 pi. And we got 90 pi as our the area of our rectangle, sorry. So total area, real quick, let's just say that's our lateral area. Circle it in case that's what we were asked to find. Total area would be if we added them together, and the total area, if we combine our like terms here, because they both have pi, we could say it's the same as 108 times pi, which is approximately, if we do the math, think 338. You could say 0.6 or point whatever. Sometimes they'll ask you to round to the nearest tenth or nearest hundredth. But that's close enough. So our total area is 338 whatever milliliters, liters, gallons, whatever we're asked to find. Maybe it's just feet, maybe it's inches, maybe it's a tiny little can. But again, surface area would be our units squared. So either LA or total area. Let's do one more here real quick. This is the second way that you might see a picture of a cylinder drawn. They'll give you half of the line, so that's talking about a radius. And in that case, say our radius is 4. And then another way that they might draw the height is by putting it in the middle. There's a little perpendicular symbol. And they might say that the height is whatever inside the can or inside the cylinder. It doesn't change anything. It's still the height, whether they put it on the outside or inside. So let's try and find our LA and TA of this cylinder. We know the radius because they gave it to us. It's 4. So the area of the circle, using shorthand here, is going to be pi r squared, or 4 squared times pi, which is 16 pi. We're going to double it for 2 circles. There's a top and a bottom. So doubling that would give us 32 times pi. The circumference of our circle is either double this or times the diameter times pi, which is 8 times pi. And if we multiply by the height, we get the area of our rectangle. So 8 pi times 6 gives us 48 times pi. And then again, remember, the area of the rectangle is the lateral area. So if you're asked to find the lateral area, there it is. You can do it in terms of pi, or actually do the multiplication, 48 times 3.14, to get a decimal value. But you'll also need to find the total area, or just the surface area, which means the total area. In which case you want to add these two together, the 2 circles with the area of the rectangle. If we do that, we get 70, 80. 40 plus 30 is 70. 2 plus 8 is 10. Let's put it together to get 80. And we got pi still. And if we do that math, that multiplication, 80 times 3.14, you get some decimal. I'll leave that one up to you. So again, just a quick review. Find the area, to find the surface area of a cylinder, find the area of your circle, double it because you have 2 circles, and find the area of your rectangle. In order to do that, you need the circumference of the circle times the height, and then that area of your rectangle is always the lateral area, and if you combine that or add it with your 2 circle areas, you get your total surface area. So good luck finding surface area of cylinders.